Okay, y'all, so let's get right into the bleaching process. So all you have to do is get some powder bleach and put it in a mixing bowl and just add the developer to that. I'm using a measuring cup that I purchased from Sally's to measure out my developer, just to make sure that I do mix the correct amount. So just follow the instructions that's on the back of the bleach container, or if you're good at it, then you can just eyeball the amounts. And what I'm doing is adding some red gold color corrector plus to make sure that I take the brassiness out of the hair after it's been bleached. Now, I actually did this part wrong. You're supposed to mix up the bleach until it's the right consistency, then go back and add the red gold color corrector plus to it. The hair still came out okay, but just so you know, I did mix that part wrong. So I'm starting out by just taking one bundle of hair, and I'm going to bleach just the tips of it first, because I do want this to be a two-tone color and I do want the tips to be the lightest part. So I'm just going to add bleach to the tips of it and make sure that it's all covered well in that bleach. And then I'm going to wrap it up in the aluminum foil and allow it to sit for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to watch it just to see how light it gets, and then I'm going to come back in and do the second layer on top of that. Now, I did go in and repeat this process on all three bundles, so this is the second bundle here. I'm just adding the bleach to those tips and using my dimming brush just to make sure that the hair isn't tangled anywhere, because I do want all of it to be covered in the bleach, and I do need it to be very, very bright once it's done bleaching, so that the color that I'm going to add to it does show well on this hair. So I'm just flipping it over, going back and forth, making sure that I do cover the tips of this hair well with the bleach. And then also, one thing that you do want to keep in mind is, after you start this process, to make sure that you do just check that first bundle to see how much it's lightened while you've been bleaching the other two bundles, because as soon as you start it is going to lift, and since it's a 40 volume developer, it is strong, so the hair will bleach and start to lift within like 2 to 3 minutes. So just make sure that you do watch it. So put the bleach on the tips, let it sit for about 10 minutes, and then come back in and check it. And with my closure, I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to bleach the tips of it first, and then I'm going to come back and do a second layer on it. So since the closure is 12 inches, I'm not going to start off putting it too high up, but I just split the closure in half, and then I'm just going to do one side and then fold it over and do the other side. And the closure, since it's not that much hair, it started to lift really quickly, so the closure actually did not sit for too long. So here's the hair after it's been sitting for about 10 minutes, and as you can see, the first level is already pretty bright. So I let it sit for 10 minutes and I checked it, and then I let it sit for another 5, and then I came back in. So now I put the second level of bleach on the hair, and this is going to be the two-tone that I end up with. So the first level is already lightened, and I'm just putting bleach on the second level just to make sure that I can get it to lift as well. So just repeat this process on all three bundles, even the closure, and then make sure you do like something close to the top so you don't get just a straight line of color. I just use the brush to do the stripes, and now I'm just going in and detangling it to make sure that I do cover all of the hair. Since I did not split this bundle, I kept it closed at the top. I'm just detangling, making sure that I do get the bleach to go all the way through the hair. So just follow this process on all three bundles, and I'll show you what it looks like after that. Here's the same process on the second bundle that's already had the tips lifted as well. And again, I'm just putting the bleach on the upper portion of it now, and then still taking it down to the end. Since the bundle is left whole, you do want to make sure that you do get in between those pieces of hair to make sure that all of the hair is covered in bleach. Because if you don't, then you'll only get bleach on the top and outer portions, but it won't go all the way through the middle. So I'm using my detangling brush just to make sure that I, straighten the hair out. And then I'm also using the brush that I'm applying the bleach bleach with to make sure that I go in between the pieces of this bundle, because I do need all of it to lift to the same color. Here I'm adding the second level to the closure, and I'll just let the bleach sit on this closure for about 10 minutes because I didn't want it getting too bright. So after you've bleached all 3 bundles and your closure, just cover it back up in that foil and allow it to sit for about 25 to 30 minutes for just the bundles, and then the closure, just keep checking it to see if it's as light as you want it. So now I'm getting ready to rinse this hair out, and I just wanted to show you all how it looks with the bleach on it and how much it's lifted. It's looking kind of dark brown, but it actually did lift to a high blonde color. So I'm just going to rinse it out in warm water just to get the bleach off, and then I am going to use a neutralizing shampoo on it to shampoo it before I add the color to it. On this part, I'm rinsing out the bundles now. They sat for, I would say, probably 35 to 40 minutes, and then I took them and rinsed them out, and then again I'm using the neutralizing shampoo on them to shampoo them. And I'm just going through each bundle individually, rinsing them one at a time and shampooing them as well. And then after that, I'm going to blow dry them so that I can go ahead and put the color on top of them now. And then I'll show you some pictures of the finished product of them being bleached before I add the color, and then I'll go back and again show you the process of how I mix the color and add the color to this hair. For this coloring process, since I am doing two-tone hair, I'm mixing up my lighter color in a mixing bowl, and the color that I'm going to put on the upper portion, I'm just going to use it straight out of the bottle. So the color that I used is by Adore in Paprika, and I'm just adding conditioner to this bowl and then the color to get it to the light kind of orangish reddish color that I want it to be. And the more conditioner you add to the color, the lighter that it'll be. So I'm just mixing that up using my whisk just to make sure all of it is mixed in. And I'm going to start off by adding the light color from the bowl to the tips of the hair, which is what we ended up bleaching first. And then I'm going to make sure that that's covered all on that tip of that hair and just mix it in well. And then using the color straight out of the bottle, I'm going to put that in the upper portion and use my brush to mix it. And then where the hair is in the middle, you don't want it to be a straight line. So kind of blend the top color with the bottom color so it can all blend together and it's not like a straight line across your color. So I'm just adding this color in, doing the top layer and the bottom layer, and then flip it over and do the other side. And the same way that you did when you bleached it, just use your brush to make sure that all of that color does go through the entire bundle. Since the hair still has not been split in half, you do want to make sure that you separate that hair as you go with your brush, just to make sure that all of it does get covered. That way you're not mixing any parts and left with blonde pieces in the hair, because if you don't separate, you will end up with blonde pieces showing through your hair. I repeated this process on all 3 bundles, where you put the light color on the bottom and add the color straight out of the bottle to the top. On the closure, I didn't go for the two-tone look because I didn't want it to be that bright, that close to the top of my hair. So for the closure, I used the color straight out of the bottle and just poured that on all of the bleached parts of that hair. And that's how I colored the closure. I didn't get to record any footage of that, but in case you were wondering, that's what I did with the closure. I just took the color straight from the bottle and poured it onto the hair. So just repeat the same coloring process on all 3 bundles, fold them up, and I'll let them sit for about I think it was like 30 minutes. I let them sit for about 30 minutes just to let that color mix in. And then also, if you want to, you can go in with a blow dryer as well and just blow dry over that foil just to mix the color in with the hair as well. So just remember to color the hair, flip it over, get in between those pieces, and then wrap it up in the foil and let it sit. So I ended up letting the color sit on the hair for a total of about an hour. I didn't feel like getting up and rinsing it, and the longer it sits, the more that it takes to the hair. So now I'm just rinsing the color out. I'm not going to use any shampoo or anything like that on it. I'm just rinsing it under cold water only, and I'm not using any shampoo or conditioner on it. The reason why I'm not using conditioner is because there was a lot of conditioner already mixed in with the color, so I don't need to add any more conditioner back to this hair. So I just rinsed all of it out in cold water. Rinse it until the water runs clear, that way later on it doesn't bleach dye your clothes or anything like that. So I'm just rinsing it until the water runs clear, and then I blow dried the hair. And with this hair, after it was blow dried and everything, I ended up turning it into a full wig. So I'll show pictures of the hair, how it looks like when it was blow dried, and then I also post some pictures of how I'm actually wearing the hair, or how I was wearing the hair.